Today I want to talk about one of my project bikes that I've got going on this year. It's a 1987 Cannondale Black Lightning. This is actually the one for me. I believe it's a 53 centimeter bike. I also have a 56 centimeter. 56 centimeters too big, so I got the 53 also. But I got the 56 at a really good price and I couldn't turn it down, so I decided to make two project bikes this summer. And they're going to be two 1987 Cannondale Black Lightnings, which, as you know, is the SR 800. It's also the official first year that Black Lightning came out. When I was restoring this, I ran into a handful of problems, and one of them I wanted to go over because the problem I ran into I almost found no solution for, and it took me a little bit of time to work it out. So any Cannondale Black Lightning enthusiast is going to know that the different Black Lightnings came with different equipment. This in the 87 actually came with Suntour Sprint, and it's got the shifters on it, the down tube shifters, and I only have one on right now. I've got the other one on because that's where I ran into my problem. I went ahead and cleaned them up. I haven't put any grease on them yet, and when you see it taken apart, I still don't have any grease on it yet, but I'm not going to until I decide exactly what I'm going to do with the down tube post, because I painted them gold and I'm not 100% sure I like that yet. After scouring the internet for a while, it took me a while to figure out or find any information on the Accushift that actually is a down tube shifting Accushift. And what I found was a technical bulletin from Suntour that's on the yellowjersey.org website, and it was pretty helpful. It didn't give me everything I needed, but it was pretty helpful. And what I did was, if you need any questions about anything that's going to be Suntour and it's going to be the Accushift stuff, go to yellowjersey.org. And you can download it there for free, which is what I did, which was great. So it tells you how to break down on everything, how everything goes together. The only thing it doesn't tell you is the index selection ring cartridge, which is this guy right here. Lay that there on the paper right next to it. It didn't tell you how to take it apart or how to put it together. And of course, in my infinite wisdom of wanting to make sure everything's 100% clean, I took it apart and I had no idea how to put it back together exactly. I had a general idea and I can figure stuff out, but I couldn't get the index shifting to work again after I put it back together, and I couldn't figure out why. So I had to do a little more searching on the internet. As I was scouring through the internet, I was able to find a blog on Euphoria's blogpost.com, which had something on Suntour index shifting, which is what I needed. So this is not for the down tube Sprint or any other Suntour down tube for the diagram, but the diagram solved my entire problem. When you look at the diagram, there's a couple things, and I'll run through the parts of the shifter here in a second, but what they don't tell you when you're trying to put it back together, or common sense didn't dictate, was the cup washers. Had a problem with figuring out how those worked. Once I got those fixed, it was great, it worked perfectly, and now my index shifting works. On at least one of my 87s, I still have to solve the problem for the other one. So I went ahead and took apart the part of it that is the index selection ring, whatever it was called, because it's got way too long of a name to remember. And there are a couple of things that are important, because it does put it back together basically the exact same way. This is what everything fits into, and it doesn't really matter exactly how it goes in there as long as the little ball bearings are in there. It's important to note that there are 4 little ball bearings in this. This is called the friction index. These are the index balls, which is funny, but it's okay. So the problem I'm having with the other Suntour shifter is, if you look, I have no bearings. And if you look at these bearings are really little. And I'll be honest, I have looked around on the internet to figure out how I can buy bearings that'll fit this thing, and I haven't had any luck yet, so I'm still working on that. So you have these 4 little bearings, and then you have the friction plate, small washer, the spring cups, another washer, and then the plate holder, right? Now in this diagram it says to go washer, spring cup, washer. When I took this thing apart, it went spring cup, washer, washer. Now it works either way, so I think it makes more sense for me to do it the way the diagram has it on here, because that's probably the way it's supposed to be. So what I did was just take your washer, place it, You take one of your cup springs and you make sure that the concave part goes down. And then you take the other one and make sure the concave part goes up so that it makes a little cup on here. That's really important, because if you don't do that, your index is not going to work. Then you take the other little washer, put it back on. You take the index cam plate, slide it on, it's got all the little bearing deals on it. Then when you put this on, you just line the ball bearings up with the 4 holes. You can't really screw this up because it only lets you put it on one way. And now you have your index pre-done. It's good to go. So then you just stick it in your plate, stick it into your shifter, make sure the holes line up, and now you have your index shifting. And that's all there is to it. The funny thing is that I just couldn't find it anywhere on the internet, so I wanted to make a quick video and tell you how to do it, because honestly, it was driving me crazy. What I'm going to do here in a second is I'm just going to lay this stuff back out. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it, and then I'll put it back together as I zoom in on it so you can get a better look on it. Also, when we're using these, there's a little plate on the back of the plastic piece on the outside. And when you put this thing on, the only thing you got to make sure is they got little nubs on them, and that the little nubs are on the outside. So when I put this thing on, the little nubs are on the outside, and those little nubs fit into these little grooves on top of the shifter. And that allows you to put in your pin, and then you have a completed shifter. Alright, hopefully I'll be able to do this without turning the entire camera over, but you have your plate holder. So you've got the plate holder, wait for it to autofocus, and no autofocus, but that's okay. So I do that, put that guy right there, take my first little washer, put it on, take my spring cup, make sure that the curved part is facing up, so we want to put the part that's going to be indented away from, take the other part of the spring cup, make sure that the concave is facing upward. It'll make a little thing that looks like you saw in the diagram. Take the next little washer, place it on. Take your index cam plate. It's got to be with the little holes facing up, because that's what the little ball bearings click in. Take your ball bearing holder plate, drop her in, make sure your bearings are still in there because they like to fall out. Put the cap on top of it. Take the whole unit. There's little grooves on this thing. So you'll see little grooves in here, and these little grooves have to match up on the shifter when you drop it in. So I line up the 2 big ones, and hopefully it goes right in, and I got lucky, I found it right away. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that the little white line is down towards the bottom of the shifter, so that when you do the adjustment, your adjustments will work right. You take this little plate. This is the thing that goes on next. You lay it in here and you line it up with, and making sure the nubs are facing down, not up. So I take my little nubs and face them down, and then I place the cap in there and I put in, and now I've got my completed shifter. Now when you get ready to reassemble it, you got your post, and then there's a few pieces that have to go on it as well. When you put this guy on, and you pull it away so the autofocus gets it, make sure that when you fit it on there, it's in the very front of, that way when the shifter comes up, it has a stop. Then you have what's called a serrated washer. It doesn't say which direction to put the serration, which I find a little weird, but that's okay. I put the serration out. I have no idea if that's right or wrong, but since there's no diagram to tell me, I don't know what else to do with it. Then you have this little brass washer. Push that guy in, and then it's got a little rubber seal that goes in, and the smaller part of the seal faces in because that helps seal it from dirt and water. You can take a little guy popped in there. Real nice like that. Then you take your shifter. Try to do this without getting in the way completely. and you get it lined up. Once you get it sat on there, take the screw, tighten her up. I don't know what I have it selected on right now, so I don't know if it's on indexed or friction. So if I click, I'm on friction right now, which is fine. I check my selector. Shifter works. Now I'm good to go. So if you have any questions, throw me a comment down below. If you got any questions you want to ask about how to do this, I can show some other aspects of it. But I wanted to put something out on the internet because I can't be the first person ever who's taken one of these things apart and not knowing exactly how it goes back together and went onto the internet and couldn't find any information on it whatsoever. So hopefully this helped you out. I know that when I found the paperwork online and did a little deductive reasoning, that it worked out perfect. So again, you're going to need to put a little bit of grease in there. I have not yet because I am not to the point where I'm going to do a finished. It's going to come back off because I have to decide what I'm going to do with my post still. And once I get that done, then I will actually go through and throw some lube in there. That way you get good friction. Make sure you do not lose the bearings if you take this thing apart because I have no idea what size they are. I don't even have a tool to measure what size it is. So I'm going to have to guess, order, and pray that they're going to fit. Or the other one's just going to be a friction because you dialed up one and I'm back to friction now. I'm dialed up one more because there's 3 settings. It just depends on kind of, then I'm back to my index setting. Okay, any questions, let me know. Thanks guys.